Hey, sorry, I was just getting settled. Should we go ahead and get started or wait for a couple more to join?
I think we're good. It's not 3 minutes in.
Okay,
People are trickling in, but it's fine.
great. So welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about the Radial rewards for Tinlake today. So that's essentially our sort of liquidity mining program for putting both investment of DAI locked into Tinlake and for asset originators that put assets into Tinlake. And so here's an overview of how today's going to look. I'm going to give an overview of the program just to refresh everyone's memory of what that looks like. Then I'm going to give everyone a tutorial of Parity Signer, how to set up an account using that. And then I'm going to hand it off to Philip Stanislaus, who's going to give a demo to claim Radial yourself on Centrifuge chain. And then we'll have some time for an AMA at the end. And then at the very end, I think we might be, is that true, Dylan? Is there something after the AMA?
Oh yeah. We'll announce the winner of the contest we had with 1754 Factory.
Awesome. So yeah, let's get started. So just a little bit of overview of the program again. So our liquidity mining reward is for both asset originators that deploy pools. They will lock assets into Tinlake and they'll receive financing for those assets as well as this Radial reward. Investors that invest in a pool will lock DAI into Tinlake and they'll receive their yield in DAI as well as RAD as a reward. Both of these are dependent on locking either the asset or the DAI for 60 days minimum. So the Tinlake itself is live on Ethereum. All of those rewards are earned on Ethereum, but they're claimed on Centrifuge chain. So this program is really to bootstrap Centrifuge Tinlake and also to distribute Radial to the users that are actually helping us bootstrap the system and giving them a reward and an extra incentive for doing that. So all of these rewards are claimed directly by users on Centrifuge chain. So again, as I mentioned before, stay tuned for that demo that Philip is going to walk everyone through. And the current reward right now is, so this is going to decline over time, but at the moment it is fixed at about 0.25 RAD per DAI locked for those 60 days for investors. And then for asset originators, that's about 0.1 RAD per DAI originated over that's locked in for 60 days. So just keep in mind that there's that minimum amount of time to be eligible for these rewards. And for investors, that comes to about 0.0042 RAD per DAI per individual day. So after that 60-day minimum, these rewards can be claimed on a daily basis if chosen so. And then it's for asset originators about 0.0017 RAD per DAI originated per day, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like. So again, this reward will decline over time. This is just the initial placement of that. But for now, it's going to be static at those numbers. So a little bit of a look of where we are so far. So we've got about 3.7 million DAI that's been financed to date. About 1.8 million DAI of total value locked. These rewards, I actually took this last night, so it's probably a bit higher today, but it was 7,900. This is that reward rate and total rewards earned to date. Here's a current snapshot of the token distribution. So the token generation event was executed by the Centrifuge Network Foundation, created roughly 400 million RAD. distributed to the foundation, initial contributors, including the team, investors, and other early contributors. And since that genesis, 20 million roughly additional tokens have been minted as rewards for validators, nominators, as well as for adoption. So that's things like grants to early contributors, as well as these Tinlake liquidity rewards. And just a look at the chain. So this is how much is staked currently on chain, about 100 million. Out of the total 400, looks like almost 421 million now that has been minted. But 200 million of those tokens are held by the foundation, which is currently locked. The foundation is not using those tokens. So in terms of getting an idea of how much is truly staked out of how much liquid tokens there are, that's about 46%, 45%, I think, just a bit under, of the total liquid tokens that's staked on chain. And so that's giving about a 25% return to nominators. So there are 209 nominators, 32 validators in the active set, and 12 validators that are waiting to join the active set. So ready to join the active set if one of these validators were to drop out. The Parity Signer account creation tutorial. So I filmed this and I'm going to try to play that here for you now and walk you through it. Hopefully we don't have any technical hiccups here. So this initial screen is on the phone. So Parity Signer you would download onto your phone, either Apple or Android device. And then you would put this device into airplane mode, I would suggest, in order to keep it air-gapped, an air-gapped wallet. So what it looks like, you would go to parity.io/signer. And it'll bring you to this page where you can either download it on the App Store or on Google Play. Once you download the app and open it up, it'll give you the option. Well, first it'll ask you to agree to the terms. Hopefully you actually read through this slower than I scrolled through that. And then it'll give you the option to create or recover an identity. So you'd want to create a new identity here with a new seed phrase. I would suggest 24 words here. That would just be a little bit more secure for you, and make sure that you store this in a safe place and also have a method of backing this up. So it'll give you that notification so that you can make sure that you stored that correctly. And then you'll set a PIN with 6 or more digits. And then it'll allow you to create your first key pair. So you'll choose Centrifuge mainnet here, and that'll show you the address that you have for Centrifuge mainnet and this QR code. So then you'll go over to Centrifuge mainnet portal to actually import that account into the portal. So you'll add this via QR, and you will scan that code that was just on your phone, on your device, using this portal on a computer. And you can give that any name that you want. I just named this test. And you'll go ahead and create that account. So here you'll be able to click on the icon to the left, and that will copy your address. So that's your Centrifuge chain address right there, just to show you that. So on the right side here, you have the option to send from this address, and you also have this drop-down menu of other actions like setting an identity, adding a proxy, etc. So you can either send by clicking right here, or you can send by going up to the top and clicking transfer. Whenever you want to transfer something, when you click that make transfer, you'll see the sign via QR option. So you'll go back to your device in order to sign this transaction. So what that looks like on your device, this portal brings up this QR code. You'll go into the account that you want to sign from, and at the bottom you see their QR scanner. And you'll scan the QR code and type in your PIN in order to sign this transaction. So that's your signed extrinsic, and you'll use that QR code to sign via the portal. So you'll just scan that here, and then it would sign your transaction if this was a real transfer. And if you go to the Explorer, you would see that balance transfer if it had executed right there. So that was a pretty quick run through. Maybe I'll pause there and just ask if anyone had any immediate questions based on that. Unless you want to keep going, Dylan, let me know.
No, feel free
how we are
to
in
type
time.
in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. We'll give a little bit of space.
Hi, this is Damjan from Slovenia. I'd just like to ask, I already have an account on a PC. So do I also need to do this one on a Parity signer on my phone, or that one should be fine? Thanks.
So it depends on your security preferences. I demonstrated using Parity Signer because I believe it's the most secure option that you have right now. And the reason is that you would turn this device into airplane mode and it would be air gapped when you create that initial seed phrase. If you used the portal itself or the Polkadot extension to create the seed phrase, it's not going to be as secure if you then import that seed phrase into Parity Signer. So the most secure option that you have at the moment is to create that seed phrase on an air-gapped device and never put that seed phrase anywhere that is connected to the internet.
There's another question about Ledger, if we support Ledger or when.
Not yet, and hopefully that is coming very soon. I don't have a specific timeline for that, but we are working on it.
Cool. Any other questions here, or we move on? Another question in the chat. Parity is only more secure due to air gap, or is there other reasons?
So I would say the main reason to use this option over the Polkadot.js extension or the portal itself is because it's air gapped. So that will be more secure. For example, if and when we support Ledger, that would also be a good option to have as well. And might even be favorable because that device is created specifically for this function. Whereas I'm not sure how reliable, it's questionable how reliable airplane mode is in both Android and Apple devices. And so it might be preferable to go with a device that's specifically made for this. And so that's why we're working on supporting Ledger. But this is your best option at the moment.
Cool, I think we can move on.
Cool. So, oops. I will hand it over to Philip Stanislaus then. Maybe I'll stop sharing here and let you share, Philip.
Yes, thanks, Cassidy. Hi, everyone. Philip speaking here. My children are going to bed right now, so I hope you don't hear anything in the background. If you do, you know why. All right, I'm sharing my screen with you guys now. Can you see this?
Yep.
Cool. So this is a live demo, and there might be things that go wrong, but I still think it's exciting to do this together. So I decided not to record anything in advance. I'm here on our Kovan staging environment. This is a testnet, Ethereum testnet, and it's also connected to a Centrifuge chain testnet. So all we see here is not real data, but it gives you still an understanding how claiming rewards work, and the user interface is basically the same. So I'm right now at the dashboard at the landing page. I'm not connected with any wallet right now, but I see here that there are rewards earned in total, and I can click on claim rewards to get a bit more detail about that. Here you can see that there are some system-wide rewards, as Cassidy mentioned earlier. These numbers, of course, are from testnet, so they are lower. And in order to see our own rewards, we need to connect here. I'm using MetaMask. That's already installed here. But of course, you can also find any tutorial online how to install MetaMask in order to invest and then also claim Radial. here we can see some data. For this user, it's a bit curious because the user already earned rewards, but does not have active investments right now. The reason for that is that that account has invested in the past, but it's not currently invested. But I still think for the demo, this is still a valid use case. In order to actually claim reward, we need to link our Ethereum account, which is used for investments, to a Centrifuge chain account. And to do that, we need a Centrifuge chain account and an address. And the Radial Reward UI uses the browser extension for that to make sure there's no typos in the address. So I show you how to install that now. I click on the install link. It tells me that I need to download something. Let's do that. Add it to Chrome. The same works for Firefox and Brave, by the way. Cool, and it has been added. We don't need to sync it. I just want to pin it so we can permanently see the extension up here, and we close that tab. Now we learn here that we need to reload the page. So I'll do that. And I'm clicking on connect for my wallet. This is just connecting like the Ethereum wallet is connected again. And now the website also asks me to connect the Polkadot extension. Since we are opening Polkadot extension right now the first time, we need to agree to some things like application access. So we are agreeing to that. And by the way, if you're wondering why it's the Polkadot extension and not the Substrate or Centrifuge chain extension, our chain, Centrifuge chain, is connected to Polkadot, and it's running on technology provided by Polkadot. So that's why you see Polkadot extension here for the key. Yeah, in the extension itself, it's very similar to MetaMask. You can create an account. You can also use the account you did create before in Parity Signer, as Cassidy explained. So we can attach it here to an external QR signer, which is the Parity Signer app. I can show you that a bit later, but now for simplicity, I'm just staying away from another device and we just work with the extension. Cool. The UI here tells us now that we need to create an account, and there's a link that provides some guidance here, but I will also show you this here now. So I open the Polkadot wallet or the Polkadot extension. I click on plus. I hope that works. It does, yes. Again, we get a seed phrase, which we should probably save somewhere. I don't do that now because it's just for demo. And we call that demo and give it some sort of demo password. Okay, here we go. So that's the account that's now stored in that Polkadot wallet. I would advise that you rather use the Parity Signer for now because of the air-gapped benefits, but you can also import your existing Polkadot account here via import account with pre-existing seed. Cool. We see that the UI has also updated, and we can see that demo account here now. If there are multiple, you can actually choose which account you want to link to your Ethereum address. Make sure that you use the correct one, because it's not possible to get any rewards if you enter the wrong account here. And this cannot be undone, this step. One thing that might come up here is that here you see an address starting with 4. And if you open the wallet here, it starts with 5. The reason for that is that by default, the Polkadot extension is using another network format. It is a bit confusing, but you can change the display address format here to Centrifuge chain. And then the Polkadot shows you exactly the same address that you also see down here. Cool. Let's try to link it. I'm clicking on link here. MetaMask opens because we are now linking on Ethereum our Centrifuge chain account to that connected Ethereum account. That only needs to happen once. Once you have linked that account, you can just come back and claim without needing to submit any other transactions on Ethereum. Cool, and that's it. So now we can claim. one thing here is that with this account, it did not invest 60 days. So this is what you will see if your investment is less than 60 days. At that stage, you cannot claim the rewards yet. You need to be at least an investor for 60 days to invest something. To claim any rewards. Cool, that's the first stage. Let's see how this all looks like claiming rewards once you have invested for 60 days. I'm just switching my MetaMask account now to this one. And now the picture looks quite different. So this is an active investor with 650 DAI invested. We can see that daily, this investor gets 2.73 radial, and it has so far accumulated 41 radial. And we can learn here that there was nothing claimed yet. We can see an abbreviated form of that address that was linked to this specific Ethereum account. And we learned that we can claim the 41 radial rewards now. Let's do that. I click on claim here, and we're waiting for a little bit. While we are waiting, you might notice that there was no wallet popping up to confirm, sign, or send any transaction. And by the way, now it succeeded. You have claimed 41 radial in rewards. Stay invested to continue earning them. Just back to my last point. So you saw no extension popping up that asked us to sign something. And that's something quite unusual if you're coming from the Ethereum world. On our own Centrifuge chain and on Polkadot in general, there exists a concept of unsigned extrinsics. And since in order to claim radial rewards, you need a proof that's calculated for you by the user interface here. That proof is enough for the transaction to be validated by the blockchain. So don't wonder or worry about it. It's still safe, but it might confuse some people that there's no signing involved here. Cool, and that's it. That was the live demo. I still wanted to come back to one point, which is using the Parity signer in here. So I quickly show you that. If you want to connect a QR signer account, you notice that you cannot click this button. You have to go to the settings, allow camera access, and then you can try again. In this case, it doesn't work. It still doesn't work. And the reason for that is that Chrome is blocking camera access without granting permission. I open the extension in a new window, and now it's asking me to use the camera. So I'm clicking that button now. And at that point, I can attach the external signer account, and it starts the camera. Cool. That is that. Are there any questions on this flow or anything else you would like to see?
Thanks for that, Philip. Yeah, we have one question in the chat. Can you claim less than the maximum amount of RAD rewards?
No, that's not supported right now. You have to, I mean, I would be curious why that would be desirable, but it's not supported right now.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, what happens if you use the wrong address format?
There's actually a check in there. So you cannot enter your address on your own. So that's why we require the Polkadot extension right now. We are thinking about adding a feature in the future where you can, let me just show you again, where you can type your address. The beauty about addresses on our Centrifuge chain is that these addresses all contain a checksum. So if you just change any letter in here or forget one, the address will not be valid. And the UI will warn you, but also the transaction will not be successful on the chain. So that should not be an issue. It's rather an issue if you use a valid address that's not yours, that you don't have the private key for. But here you cannot type. This is pre-filled from the extension.
Cool. So another one, what if you have several investments? Can you see a breakdown per investment?
You cannot see a breakdown right now, but the user interface here gives you the total earned rewards for all investments on this Ethereum address that's connected. If you have multiple Ethereum addresses, you can link them to the same Centrifuge chain address, but there's no breakdown right now. What you can see though is when you're connected, we have also added that recently. There is a portfolio where you can see in which pools you invested what amount, so that might give you a rough indication of where the rewards come from.
Cool. Anything else? I see is there a minimum amount, but I don't know what that's in relation to. Damjan, do you have of the investment?
Yeah. So there's a minimum investment of 10,000 DAI in general on Tinlake. Here in this example, this is a testnet, so we don't have that minimum, and for that reason it's lower here. The $10,000 or DAI minimum is for just operational reasons. It doesn't make much sense to have people go through the KYC process and all the overhead of onboarding investors if the amounts are too small. I hope you can understand that.
Cool. So maybe we can also open up the questions a little more beyond the claiming radial rewards. But if there's any general ask anything questions about Centrifuge or Radial in general, feel free to also unmute and speak, or you can type it in the chat also.
I'll stop sharing my screen for now, but if you have any other questions, I'm happy to share again.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, first question, what happens if everyone in a pool decides to withdraw their stake at the same time? Who would be the best to answer this?
I
could
could.
go ahead.
Oh,
Cassidy.
Dennis, go.
No, you go ahead. All good.
Well, yeah, Dennis, maybe just add in,
Yeah,
and I
happy
can
to.
start.
Yeah.
But this is actually asked also in the Telegram today about this notion of epochs. And that's the reason of the epoch existing in Tinlake, which is set at about a day for most of the pools. And that is specifically to do a check of all of the investments coming in and drop and tin being redeemed. And to check that against the minimum tin ratio of the pool, as well as the maximum reserve amount, et cetera, to make sure that this couldn't happen.
Yeah, that's correct. So you can only redeem from a pool if there's something in the reserve. And if there are more redemptions locked than there is in the reserve, they would be executed pro rata, so equally in terms of their size, to make sure everybody gets a fair redemption for that. And then for the next epoch, they can change when redemptions come in from the asset originator or other people want to invest. This is matched at the next epoch, and so on. So investors would always be able to redeem at the daily epochs for every pool, if liquidity is available for redemption.
Nice. Cool. So we have another question about if there's any preview on a bonding curve that we're going to be adopting. Is there any information on a bonding curve?
The current amount per day, so 0.00042 rad per DAI per day, is valid for the first million in rad awarded. So if you go to tinlake.centrifuge.io, you'll see that we're at 370,000 rad roughly awarded. So we're about one third into the like first sort of like lowering first set where we would consider lowering the rewards. So not for a little bit of time. we haven't sort of I think it's quite hard to predict what the future in DeFi will look like, right? Like who knows what will happen in the coming months. And so like sort of trying to predict this curve, this reward curve too far out into the future is hard. So that's why we sort of gave a fair amount of pre-warning, but as we get closer to the first million RAD being awarded, this will be up to governance basically and the community to decide sort of how we want to proceed.
Cool. Don't see any other questions. Give it a second, and if not, then we can move on. Maybe Cassidy, you can share your screen to go show the next part of the agenda.
So then the next thing is just the announcement for the contest.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, I could show a slide for that if you want.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Sure.
right. One second.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, definitely needed. So yeah, we have Fabian here. Fabian is running the 1754 factory bling pool on Tinlake, which also has some space open for new investors. And he initiated a contest to see what's the best strategies you could use leveraging DeFi and Tinlake to get the most yields. So maybe Fabian, you could take from here and announce the contest.
Sure. Thank you so much. So we created this contest because we know like a lot of people in the early stage are holders, especially in the West side, in the US and Canada. Like people like to hold into their stack, especially during a bull market. So we felt like we can try to find strategies where people can hold their stack of ETH and DOT and everything while still supporting the raise of a platform like Centrifuge. So the idea is to find like, strategy where people can actually use the value, the internet value of this new kind of money, Ethereum, etc., to invest into the pools. We had a lot of feedback, and I think we loved what Fischels and also what Node did, which is basically using synthetics as a way to mint something asset and reinvest the DAP value of these assets into Tinlake. So it was pretty cool. So the two winners for now, we could decide. So we have two winners, MetaMod and Fischkel, and it was pretty good. I don't know if you plan on going to the strategy and give ideas to the community, or they can leverage their internet money.
Yeah. I was thinking we could do that. First off, I wanted to say there were a few submissions that talked about using drop to lock in Maker. So this can't happen, and maybe Dennis, you could explain it a little further. Because there were a few people that were suggesting that maybe it's good to.
Sorry, Dylan, I was just typing. Sorry, could you
yeah.
Sorry.
Just explaining how, because there were a few submissions that talked about using drop to lock in Maker to mint more DAI.
Yeah, of course. No, that I can. So this is just not possible because we will have a direct integration with Maker, right? So there's a direct smart contract integration. that does this for the pool to drop the lock the drop into Maker Vault and draw die in exchange. So you can't do that by yourself. Just like take your drop and lock into Maker.
Cool. And yeah, actually, maybe this is also a point to update the community on what's happening in Maker. There's some cool progress happening there. If anyone wants to.
I mean, I can maybe share just a bit about what's going on, right? Like a lot of our asset originators are obviously also looking towards Maker as a way to access liquidity. And Maker has been sort of working through these and actually published some of the first risk assessments, which sort of describe actually quite well how these pools work, like what sort of the assets are like, and then are suggesting already some of the first debt ceilings for them. And so this will actually go up for a vote, hopefully very soon in the next couple of weeks, which will be one of the last step, like basically the last step before these asset originators are able to mint DAI using their own collateral.
Nice. Cool. So is Fishgales and MetaMod on the call by chance? Ah, cool. Bernhard and Ash. Cool. Yeah, we have a little bit of time. Would you want to maybe explain the way that it'll work? Are you okay with being put on the spot, either of you? I can share my screen to kind of show. Okay, Bernhard doesn't have audio.
Hey, Don.
Hey, Ash. Cool.
Yeah,
so I can maybe share my screen and then you can talk. How's that? This is this here.
Yeah, so I'm just bullish on SNX, just the run up that it's had till now, and I know that the derivatives market is a huge market, so I definitely wanted to have some crypto exposure in that. So I like the fact that I'm staking SNX, and I want to definitely hold Ethereum as well. Obviously, using the 30,000 wouldn't give you the 10,000 worth that's needed for the minimum to earn radial rewards. So you would have to tinker with the numbers there. But so far, as long as obviously values of these tokens are holding, it's working out pretty fine.
Cool. So at the end of the day, you're gaining RAD, comp, and then is there a synthetics also token or?
Yeah, you do receive staking rewards in SNX as well. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So these are all still up on the discourse if you want to check them out. Thanks for that, Ash.
Yeah, no problem.
And just make sure both of you to reach out with email address and then Centrifuge address, and Fabian can send your reward.
Sweet.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I think that's everything. Is there anything else you want to add on, Cassidy or anyone on the Centrifuge team?
I would just point out to everyone, if you're not in our Telegram group, you can always feel free to ask questions there in the Centrifuge chat. And we also just launched our announcements channel as well. So if you just want to have a place for announcements, that's also available. So just a note there. And thank you everyone for joining. Congrats to Bernard and Ash. Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll definitely have another community call next month, and we're thinking about maybe even hosting one bi-weekly, so in 2 weeks. So also, if anyone has any ideas, you can also bring them up on the Telegram chat or in discourse. But otherwise, thanks everyone, and talk soon or see you soon.